I want to take just a minute to transition from your case study number 5, which is the task, the explicit part of this week that has a due date, and work into our topic for this week, which is collaboration. A lot of this week's materials you read in the previous slide are introductory and concepts that we will be applying and using for the remaining weeks of our semester. Everything that I'm going to talk about and give you for this week are either an introduction to co-teaching, if you haven't heard co-teaching and collaboration, if you haven't worked with those concepts before, or a review for us. So kind of sit back, relax, make sure that you have an understanding of these, but the rest of the tasks and materials for this week, you can progress through on your own time. You will need these for our final and summative assessment. When we talk about collaboration, sometimes people wonder why we have specific and explicit materials, research, and courses on collaboration when it comes to special education. It's kind of a no-brainer. When you get into education, you're of course going to collaborate with others. But there's more to it than that. When we talk about collaboration in education and specifically in special education, we know that there's research out there that definitively proves that students benefit when the adults in the room work together. Students make better progress. They have better understanding of the concepts, content, and materials. They are able to model their behaviors and their soft skills, their executive functioning, and their people skills after what they see the adults in the room doing. We know that this is better for us professionally. If you work in isolation as a special education teacher and you don't collaborate with others in your building, it does not support a sense of belonging for you. As a special educator, you're not part of the school culture, you're not part of the school community, and if you're working completely on your own and in that silo, it's not good for you as a professional. It benefits you as a professional to reach out and collaborate with others in your building, in your hallway, and in your district. Students know when we're on the same page. Students can tell, from the youngest students to our young adult students, all the way through, even our college students know when we're working together and we're collaborating and we're on the same page. Part of that is the modeling that I talked about before. Students know how to collaborate when they see it done. But the other part of that is the continuum and the support that they receive in so many different ways. That comes from the fact that the professionals that you work with in many different ways, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, all have a different perspective and different expertise to bring to the table. They're all the stakeholders that are involved in a student's education. And when we collaborate as adults or instructors or educators or staff, we know that all perspectives are coming and we can support our students better. We're going to get into, in the next couple of slides, more about the two different groups that we work with. Those are related service providers and our co-teaching, collaborating gen ed partners, our educators in general education. I've put up a couple of very specific ways and what this looks like on our slide, but we'll kind of talk through those now. What does collaboration look like with either one of those groups of people? Collaboration is specifically when we talk about and discuss how we will work together. We don't just assume collaboration and assume that we've been assigned the same students so that we're going to work together. It takes a conversation. It takes honesty and some transparency to sit down and talk about what that's going to look like and how we're going to get there. Those are important conversations. If you're new to working with someone, if it's a new speech teacher or a new 4th grade teacher or a new 10th grade teacher, it's important that you sit down and have these conversations. But if it is an educator or an adult in the building that you've worked with for years, sometimes this comes naturally, but it's important that you recognize it. It's important to also realize that no matter who the other educational professional is that you're working with, that you're collaborating on IEP goal progress. on that student's progress in general, but also how they're making specific gains on their individual needs. We don't just talk about the what and the how and the when. We talk about how those things are making sure we are seeing that it's benefiting the student and not just compliant and procedural. We talk about that progress piece also. We meet regularly to discuss student learning. That doesn't have to be super rigid. It doesn't have to be every Wednesday at 11 a.m., but it needs to be more than just at the beginning of the semester, at the end of the semester, and at the IEP meeting, or casually in the hallways. It needs to have a structure, and you need to make sure that you're honoring time commitments and making sure you can meet in creative ways if at all possible. But it needs to be a regular conversation and meeting to talk about how you're going to collaborate, how that's going, and how the student is making progress. All of the educational professionals work on content, on lesson design. That's the what and the how. We bring in all of our different perspectives and expertise to talk about what the grade level content might be and how our students with IEPs can bring their learning into that piece, how we're going to help them make progress through content and lesson planning design. We have those conversations regularly also. All of this gives us many ways to partner in the classroom. Sometimes you have to get really, really creative. Sometimes it's more of a traditional co-teaching model, which we're going to talk about more in the future on these slides. But it really focuses on that word partner. How can we work together? How can we bring all of our perspectives and expertise and skills to the table to benefit how all students learn, but also to specifically make sure we're providing the individual instruction and support needed for our students with special needs?